Hello, welcome to the channel, I'm Recurs, and yeah, so like the title says, can Modern Warfare 2 take away any remaining players that are on Battlefield 2042? And realistically, I actually think it can, and I'm going to discuss those all here. Also, for anyone wondering, I do actually have a review of Modern Warfare 2 coming out in a couple of days, just so I want to get this video sort of done and out of the way first, before I go into all detail on my opinion of Modern Warfare 2 pretty much. But yeah, so like I say, can it actually take away the player base? Now, from the get-go, a lot of you guys will probably be saying to yourself, well, why would Modern Warfare 2 take away Battlefield's player base? You know, Battlefield is known for having large-scale vehicular gameplay, so it is. Why would that translate well to Battlefield players? Well, there's one specific mode in Modern Warfare 2 that I think can actually do this, and that mode's actually Ground War, so it is. Now, Ground War was introduced a couple of years ago in Modern Warfare 2019 as sort of a Call of Duty style conquest gameplay, so it was. Now, obviously, certain things that you expect to see in a Battlefield game aren't in this mode, so when I say that, what I mean is pretty much, you know, destruction. Got a bit tongue-tied there, apologies. So like I said, destruction isn't in it. We also don't have as many vehicles. Yes, we have a lot of vehicles in Ground War, but it's nowhere near the amount that you see in Battlefield. So it isn't, you know, Battlefield will have numerous amount of jets, numerous helicopters, numerous tanks. Now these are here in Ground War. There is tanks, there is a couple like helicopters and so on, but the majority of these helicopters and everything else that I've just discussed are pretty much killstreak related. Because that's obviously what Call of Duty does. Call of Duty loves having, you know, massive over-the-top kill streaks, and it's always sort of done that. It's been its pretty much gameplay addictive aspect, if you want to call it that, that Call of Duty does and delivers every year. So people know that they're expecting to see a video game equivalent of a Michael Bay Transformers movie with the amount of, you know, explosions and the amount of, you know, killings, we'll call it. And realistically, that's what people come to expect of Call of Duty. Another thing that Call of Duty has in its advantage is that it's much more faster than Battlefield. And what I mean by that is that the time to kill is a lot quicker, so it is in Call of Duty. Pretty much anyone can pick up the game and play it now, especially with skill-based matchmaking coming to Call of Duty, and that if you're a new player, you're not going to be thrown into a server where you're constantly playing, you know, against the pros and whatnot. You will be playing against players who are also new to the game. Battlefield, if you ask me, for years I've always found this to be a much more harder shooter, so it is. And what I mean by that is because you can pretty much play anyone. There's no skill-based matchmaking gap in Battlefield, and even in the past games it was always server-orientated. Now obviously servers are sort of still there if you consider Portal, but a lot of people, myself included, wouldn't really consider Portal to be its main server focus. But like I say, Call of Duty is generally seen as a much more easier game to pick up and play, so it is, than Battlefield. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing, that's actually a good point Call of Duty has going for it, because pretty much it's an open invitation, anyone can play it. But I feel that a lot of people last year, especially with 2042 going up against Call of Duty Vanguard, a lot of people were thrown off about Vanguard because it was pretty much a World War II setting that people, quite frankly, were just sort of like, really? This is what you're giving us? Whereas 2042 promised somewhat of a modern, just near futuristic setting, so it did. You know, it had the type of weapons people were used to, and realistically, the modern day setting is probably the most commercially successful, we'll say, when it comes to the FPS genre. So it is, if we just look at Call of Duty, for instance, the Modern Warfare games traditionally become their best selling games. Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, all were very successful releases, so they were. And even if you want to throw something else in there, Medal of Honor 2010 came out obviously in 2010. It was a modern day setting game sandwiched between, you know, Battlefield 3, Bad Company 2, Modern Warfare 2, and of course Black Ops 1. Now obviously the, you know, game that wasn't a modern day setting was Black Ops 1, but Call of Duty, you know, the title still worked. But if we look at that, all 5 of these games, that I've listed were all relatively successful because they had a modern theme. Modern day setting conflicts generally garner the best success, we'll say. I got a bit stuck there on what I was going to say, but they garner the best success when it goes forward with, you know, developers and publishers on what the best idea is, because they know they can make the most money in these aspects. Now, like I said, 2042 was a somewhat futuristic to modern day setting game, but either way, a lot of people were open arms to the game. A lot of people were like, you know what, I like what I see here, I'm going to pick up 2042. Now 2042 launched, and it was arguably one of the buggiest launches I've ever seen. There was so much content missing from the game. The weapon balancing was horrendous. You know, the fact that we could pretty much only play Conquest as a mode was a bit of a turn off, because there was a lot of people, you know, who were new to the Battlefield formula who were probably thinking, well, I'll play a couple of games of Team Deathmatch here, you know, to get me into the game. And realistically, that was missing. You couldn't do anything like that. There was a lot of bot farming at the beginning, and a lot of people generally just turned off the game and wanted refunds. I mean, realistically, I think it actually made a petition that made it to 1 million signatures on people who wanted a refund for the game. That's how bad 2042 was. Obviously, they didn't get that refund because EA said no. But the point is valid. They wanted a refund. EA said no, they didn't get it, and realistically, a lot of people just turned off the game and haven't played it since. Now, the updates to the game have made the game a much more stable game. I actually generally think at the minute 2042 is a much better game than what it was at launch. That being said, it still doesn't paper over the cracks that are still lying in the game. For instance, there's a lot of hit detection issues that I generally don't think will ever be fixed. The time to kill is also still pretty buggy if you want to really go at it. But now, why does Modern Warfare affect 2042? I mean, that's really the real reason you clicked on this video, obviously. And I'm sorry about waffling there for like the last 5 minutes about 2042 and its issues. You've heard that constantly. But realistically, the reason I think it is because Modern Warfare offers a lot more. And what I mean by that is if we look at the modes in Modern Warfare specifically, we have Ground War, obviously, which will attract the larger, fan base that like conquest-style game modes and vehicle game modes. They'll jump into it because of that, because they think to themselves, well, realistically, great graphics, and it does, let's be fair, at the minute Call of Duty's killing it with the graphics game. Great graphics, it has great sound, weapon balancing, for the first couple of days, let's be fair, the weapon balancing in Call of Duty is usually bad, but after a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks, they do have this patched relatively quick. And also it's on the notes that a lot of people are actually complaining about the weapon balancing, so it'll probably be fixed relatively fast. So well, obviously Call of Duty has the specific modes like TDM, domination, capture the flag, search and destroy, etc. And these are generally good for players who are new to the sort of franchise formula and want to jump into it, because me, whenever I began, I'll use me as an example. I started off on Modern Warfare 2, so I did way back in the day, way back in 2009, the original Modern Warfare 2. And the game mode I generally played was, of course, TDM. And the reason I played that is because I didn't know what the objectives were for other game modes. But gradually, after a couple of weeks, I got better at the game, so much so that I could actually function on a game and knew exactly what I was doing. Battlefield didn't offer that to a lot of people. So realistically, it'll take that portion of the player base away. People who are sick of constantly playing like Conquest, for instance, they'll jump over so well because there's a lot more variety and options in Modern Warfare 2. And of course, we have to mention Warzone. Warzone has pretty much become Call of Duty's flagship game mode at the minute. So it has. A couple of years ago, Call of Duty was, let's be fair, on its knees. They saw success that Fortnite had, and they jumped on the bandwagon and released the first game that was sort of their Battle Royale theme, which was Blackout and Black Ops 4. Now, after that, they released Modern Warfare 2019, which of course had Warzone. Now, the interesting thing about this is that Warzone wasn't meant to be a constant running theme game, so it wasn't. It was just meant to be something extra in there for other players. But it quickly became their best, reported selling mode. And what I mean by selling, I know it is for free. What I mean is like people were picking up, things in the shop specifically for Warzone, so they were. So realistically, it made a lot of sense that Activision would dive on this and really promote Warzone. And we've seen it in the last couple of years. They've had events with King Kong and Godzilla in them, for instance. Warzone has become its flagship game mode. Battlefield still doesn't offer anything major. People will say, well, they have Hazard Zone, but I honestly think Hazard Zone's been completely forgotten at this point. Conquest is pretty much the only real game mode available in Battlefield 2042, if you really want to be honest. So the variety is definitely weighing more towards Call of Duty. So it is. I just generally think Call of Duty at the minute, it pretty much is just kicking or curb stomping, if you want to put it, 2042 because of what it offers. Now you'll probably be listening to me and hear me saying this, think to yourself, I'm not listening to you. What evidence do you have to back this up? You've only got like the guts of 500 subscribers, which I'm very proud about. And the truth is, I haven't really got any figures whatsoever to back up my claim about this. I just generally think that it makes more sense that a lot more people will jump on the Call of Duty at the minute because Call of Duty is just offering a lot more variety in this game. So it is. 2042 could have been a great game. So it could have been EA pretty much rushed it out before it was finished. And what ended up happening was that we got effectively 3 years development on one game mode. When you think about it, yes, people will say there's Portal, there's Rush and all these other game modes. I get that and I understand it. But if we look at that main DayZ team, realistically they were just developing Conquest because Ripple Effect handled Portal, and realistically I think the two of them worked side by side when it came to the likes of Rush. So realistically 3 years of development just goes into Portal and cringy Specialist. The game was a bad game, and I know a lot of people will say, well, it's controversial considering I like the game. I do actually like the game. I actually really enjoy 2042. But I can understand and agree with many people that it has a plethora of problems. Now, a lot of people probably won't like me saying that because, there's fanboys on every platform, every game, everything has a fanboy effectively. And a lot of people won't like me saying it, but the truth is, hold your hands up and be honest, the game was a bad game. And yes, I know it's early in the days for Modern Warfare 2 and there's already a lot of bugs being reported. I myself on Twitter have listed a couple of things I really hate about the game already. Haven't played it. But that being said, I'm well aware that I was about to say Activision are more than likely going to patch these because they generally do in relatively quick succession whenever a new game gets released. Obviously people will point the fingers and say Vanguard. let's just pretend Vanguard doesn't exist. But the point is valid. Like, Call of Duty at the minute just offers a much more addictive package, so it does everything on display in Call of Duty works better. You know, even the graphics, like, I know a lot of people will argue about since like Battlefield's always had better graphics. I generally don't even think the graphics in Battlefield look all that good now compared to Call of Duty. And the reason for that is because they're pretty much doing what Activision did for years, which was just build off the Quake 3 engine. In EA's case, they're just constantly building off the Frostbite engine. They're not doing anything really new to it. They're just constantly revamping it, and eventually this grows stale with the audience with us. So if you ask me personally, I think that EA realistically what they have to do is they have to go back to the drawing board with Battlefield. So to do, they have to really just, you know, write it down as a bit of a fail. Let's be honest. 2042, it even had bad, you know, sales, so that in comparison to what they expected. Just go back to the drawing board. You know, you have a whole set of new teams in. You have Ridgeline Studios, I think it is. You have Ripple Effect. You have obviously DICE. You have 3 studios who can work on the next game. Just bring the next game out and make sure it's a good game. So that's all I ask. I'm not asking you for blood. I'm not asking you for donations or any of that. We're just asking you to make a good game. That's all we ask. I mean, if we look at even the likes of Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 1 even, it was probably the last great Battlefield game when you really weigh it up. So yeah, that was my overall thoughts on this. I don't even know what I'm going to title this video. Originally I was going to title, you know, will Modern Warfare 2 take players from 2042? I don't know if we can even title that anymore, but at the end of the day, I mean, I've rambled on about a lot of different stuff, so I have... The point of the video, I suppose, is do you guys agree with me? Do you guys think that 2042 will lose players because of Modern Warfare 2's release? And if so, comment why. If you don't believe it, also comment why. And yeah, I've been encouraging you. If you guys managed to stick around this long in the video, thank you so much, because, you know, it means a lot to me, so it doesn't help the view duration. It always, you know, helps the channel either way, so it does. If you like the video and, you know, might consider subscribing, also helps out. Stay active on the channel. I like to communicate a lot with the people who do actually stay active on my channel, so they, and the fact that they've constantly commented, you know, again, means a lot, so it does, the fact they've stuck around here for so long. And yeah, I've been encouraging you. Have a lovely day, guys. Hope you enjoy Halloween. That's actually the day I'm recording this video, so it is. And yeah, just overall, have a good day. Peace.